Some say any state that holds an election is a democracy. But true democracy requires vigorous political parties allowed to engage in free and lively debate.
There has evolved a political duopoly in the United States in which the two political parties agree to agree on certain things and agree to disagree on others. And in particular, they agree on things related to finance and money, and they disagree on social policy. And this has potentially quite powerful consequences relative to their ability to retain legitimacy in the United States, because the disagreements on social policy are very real and very important. And what you see is both political parties and their candidates and people soliciting money, contributions, from the base of either of the parties, using those social policy issues in order to retain allegiance from the base, even in the face of the two parties' shared agreement to leave the economic and financial issues alone. Now, that duopoly, a sustainable duopoly, depends on the absence both of internal challenges from within the party and also the absence of competitive entry. And I've been speaking about this with people who specialize in the study of political systems and democratic systems. Larry Diamond, for example, at Stanford, who's probably America's leading expert on democracy. And Larry in particular thinks that the lack of a parliamentary system and the lack of ranked order voting are very important necessary conditions to the sustainability of this political duopoly. So why in the face of this is there not a more organized response, either independent of political parties or an attempt to create a third political party? And the answer is that if you look at the recent history of third parties in the United States, particularly those on the left, the last reasonably clean example would be Ralph Nader. What you see is that because of the lack of a parliamentary system and because of the lack of ranked order voting, the effect of a small fraction of the population going to a third party is to defeat the neighboring party in political terms. And so that also serves as a reinforcement to the political duopoly. And my sense in talking with I don't have much contact. I have some with senior people in the Republican Party. I have a fair amount of contact with senior people in the Democratic Party. And my quite strong sense is that this is something that is now explicitly understood. And I think that although it's removed at several levels from the immediate forces that affected the financial crisis and the deregulatory impulses and the lack of law enforcement that allowed the behavior that led to the crisis, I think that ultimately it's some kind of explanation like that you have to rely on. So with that, I will.
I was Assistant Secretary of Housing, so I was the lead regulator for the housing area. And it's very interesting, Max, because I left Washington in 1998, and I kept saying to people, look, they're engineering a housing bubble. This is going to destroy the country. It's going to bankrupt the country. We're talking about a model which is not just fraud. It is the model. It's the plan. It's the governance model. It's the way things are. So there's the official reality that has law as you and I were brought up to believe it. And then we have a system which believes it's above the law. I mean, I literally had the Secretary of HUD once say to me, look, I don't have to pay attention to the law. I don't have to obey the law. I report to a higher moral authority. So we have the planet run under a model that's operating under a different set of rules and laws that we believe the law to be.
But my attitude is if somebody can't find work and they want to work, we've got to continue to work on expanding the job base. And anybody who wants a job who can't find one means we got a problem. A country which has been under attack can respond by loving your neighbor like you'd like to be loved yourself. America can be changed one heart, one soul, one conscience at a time, so long as we are willing to love a neighbor like we'd like to be loved ourselves. And part of economic security is owning your own home. Part of having a secure America. Part of being a secure America is to encourage home ownership. So somebody can say, this is my home. Welcome to my home. Now, we've got a problem here in America that we have to address. Too many American families, too many minorities, do not own a home. There is a home ownership gap in America. The difference between Anglo-America and African-American and Hispanic home ownership is too big. And we've got to focus the attention on this nation to address this. I do believe in the American dream. I believe there is such a thing as the American dream. And I believe those of us who have been given positions of responsibility must do everything we can to spotlight the dream and to make sure the dream shines in all neighborhoods, all throughout our country. Owning a home is a part of that dream. It just is. Right here in America, if you own your own home, you're realizing the American dream. These are all people that I've met. They've come over here today. They showed me their home. They didn't show me somebody else's home. They showed me their home. And they are so proud to own their home. And I want to thank them for their hospitality. I want to, because it helps the American people really understand what it means. And what we've got to do is to figure out how to make sure these stories are repeated over and over and over again in America. 3/4 of white America owns their homes. Less than 50% of African Americans are part of the home ownership in America, and less than 50% of the Hispanics who live here in this country own their home. And that has got to change for the good of the country. It just does. And it starts with setting a goal, and so by the year 2010, we must increase minority homeowners by at least 5.5 million in order to close the home ownership gap. We've got to set a big goal for America and focus our attention and resources on that goal. The single greatest barrier to first-time home ownership is a high down payment. It is really hard for many, many low-income families to make the high down payment. And so that's why I've proposed, I urge Congress to fully fund the American Dream Down Payment Fund. This will use money, taxpayers' money, to help a qualified low-income buyer make a down payment. And that's important. If one of the barriers to home ownership is the inability to make a down payment, and if one of the goals is to increase home ownership, it makes sense to help people pay that down payment. We believe that the amount of money in our budget, fully approved by Congress, will help 40,000 families every year realize the dream of owning a home. So what I've done is propose what we call a single-family affordable housing tax credit to encourage the development of affordable housing in neighborhoods where housing is scarce. A third major barrier is the complexity and difficulty of the home buying process. There's a lot of fine print on these forms. But we also have got to bring others into the process, most particularly the real estate industry. After all, the real estate industry benefits when people are encouraged to buy homes. It's in their self-interest that we encourage people to buy homes. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, as well as the federal home loan banks, will increase their commitment to minority markets by more than $440 billion. This means they will purchase more loans made by banks to African Americans, Hispanics, and other minorities, which will encourage home ownership. Freddie Mac will launch 25 initiatives to eliminate home ownership barriers. Under one of these, consumers with poor credit will be able to get a mortgage with an interest rate that automatically goes down after a period of consistent payments. To make sure that we achieve a more secure America by achieving the goal of 5.5 million new minority homeowners. In this great country, there are too many people who say this American dream, what does that mean? My eyes are shut to the American dream. I don't see the dream. And we better make sure, for the good of the country, that the dream is vibrant and alive. It starts with having great education systems for every single child. It means that we unleash the faith-based programs to help change people's hearts, which will help change their lives. It means we use the mighty muscle of the federal government in combination with state and local governments to encourage owning your own home. That's what that means. And it means that each of us have a responsibility in the great country to put something greater than ourselves, to promote something greater than ourselves. And to me, that something greater than yourself is to love a neighbor like you'd like to be loved yourself. In order to change America and to make sure the great American dream shines in every community, we must unleash the compassion and kindness of the greatest nation on the face of the earth. I'm honored to be here today. I want to thank you for your interest. God bless you all, and God bless America.